Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Arif bin Muhammad SANUSI, and my matrix number is B0918105332. And today we're going to present about the gears. Gears is a machine or equipment to make the machine works, which is it is a rotating circular metal with teeth and usually work in pairs to transmit energy from one point to another point. The gears are considered the oldest machine or equipment known to the mankind, which is the first gear in the world are found in the China, in the machine of Chinese South Pointing chariot in 27th century before Christ. Then the gear keep evolving, and there is some modification, improvement, and development until today. Gears are common use in human daily life. Even the clock or watches use gears. Even the vehicles, the bicycles, we use it. The function of gears is used to transfer motion, torque, and speed between machine components in mechanical device. So we're going to talk more about this. We move to another point.
Assalamualaikum, my name is RUDI bin HUSSAIN. I would like to continue the presentation with my point, which is the definition of gear. So what can gear define? Gear is defined as a toothed wheel that works with others to alter the relation between the speed of a driving mechanism, such as engine of the vehicle, and the speed of the driving part, the wheels. That is from Oxford language. And next one is from Cambridge Dictionary. It defined as a device often consisting of a connecting set of wheels with teeth around the edge that control how much power from an engine goes to the moving part of the machine. So I'm going to talk about some of the type of gear. The first one is spur gear. Spur gear have teeth parallel to the axis of rotation and used to transmit motion from one shaft to another parallel shaft. Next one is helical gear. Helical gear have teeth inclined to the axis of rotation. Helical gear are not as noisy because of the more gradual engagement of the teeth during mashing. Next one is bevel gear. Have teeth formed on a conical surfaces and are used mostly for transmitting motion between the intersecting shafts. And lastly is the worm and worm gear. The worm resembles a screw. The direction of rotation of the worm gear also called as the worm wheel. Normally the Japanese call it as worm wheel. Depends upon the direction of rotation of the worm and upon whether the worm teeth are cut right hand or left hand. So that's all for me for the definition and type of gear. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Cik Irman and all my friends. So my name is Muhammad SAIFUL bin Ali. My matric number is B0918100402. So I will continue with the purpose of the gear. So the first one is gear is used to change the speed or to change the force according the situation. The second one is gear is the system that can transfer the electrical energy to the mechanical energy. So there is 5 type of gear, which is a spur gear, helical gear, bevel gear, worm gear, and the last one is rod and pinion gear. So all as defined have a different purpose. So the spur gear is allowed for both a high degree of precision and easier for in manufacturability. The second one is helical gear. So helical gear is accommodate high speed and high load as well. The third one is bevel gear. Bevel gear is being used for mounted at a 90-degree angle. The fourth one is worm. Worm gear has been used for transmission between non-parallel shaft. And the last one is the rod and pinion gear. So the function, the purpose of the rod and pinion gear is same like the spur gear, which is allow for both a high degree of precision and easier for the manufacturability.
How the gear works? First is gear never stand alone, which is, as mentioned before, it works in pairs to transmit the energy from one point to another. For the basic gears, such as the spur gear, there is one shaft from each side, and the side is called as driver and driven. The driver is the input, and the driven is the output. So there will be 2 gear. That is mean 1 pair. And if the driver is in clockwise, the driven will be rotating the motion in the anti-clockwise. So that is how it works in a simple word. The driver gear, usually the shaft is connected with the motor, and the power from the motor will transfer by the second gear. How to change the speed or the torque in the gear? So if the gear is big, the torque is high and the velocity or the speed is low. If the gear is small, the torque is low but the speed is high. So in order to change the output, which is we want the torque to be high or the speed to be high, so we must change the size, and the size change is called the gear ratio. For the gear ratio, this is the formula, which is the first formula is by dividing the speed of the output over the input speed. The second formula is by dividing the number of the driver gear over the number of the driven gear. So that's all from me, and we move to my friend, another friend.
So we will continue with the advantage and disadvantage of the gear. So the first one is the spur gear. The advantage of the spur gear is constant ratio of the velocity, is highly reliability, it can transmit a lot of power, and the disadvantage of this spur gear is a low speed gear. It cannot transfer to a non-parallel shaft, and the last one is spur gear is the weakest gear among the 5 type of gear. So the next one is helical gear. So the advantage of the helical gear is it's durable and ideal to transmit high load. So the next secondly, it can transmit when motion and power between the parallel or right angle shaft. So the disadvantage of the helical gear is low efficiency because they lost a lot of power because of they create a lot of heat on the system. So the third one is a bevel gear. So the advantage of the bevel gear is it can possible change the operating angle, and the disadvantage of the bevel gear is the shaft bearing need to support the significant force. Okay, we move to the worm gear. So the advantage of the worm gear is it was a self-locking, it occupies less space, and it meshing effectiveness. Okay, sorry. And the disadvantage of the worm gear is the material are expensive. It also a low efficiency because due to the sliding action occur in the system, and the last one is produce a lot of heat in the system. So the last one is rack and pinion. So the advantage of the rack and pinion gear is it was cheap, compact, can convert rotation motor into a linear motion, and the disadvantage of the rack and pinion gear is has a high friction occur in the system, and is also a low efficiency in the system. So as a conclusion, gear is important for a transmission because of gear is one of the easiest way to transmit or to move the high load or high power, because of we can control the speed and we can control the force of the gear. So that's all from us. Thank you.